Shifting gears. This month we are looking at the idea of shifting gears from race to grace consciousness. And to lay more groundwork than we did last week, because there was just really a lot to do on Easter, so we didn't get to delve into this as deeply as I really wanted to. So today's the day that I really want to do that. There's three things that need to be deeply understood. First, the word consciousness. Then second, the term race consciousness. And finally, the term grace consciousness. And we're going to dig really deep into the first two right now. We're going to save the last one for a little bit later this morning. There's really some deep wisdom here today, so it's important that we, really get into this. In fact, I want everyone to pay attention like the nuns did in the story I'm going to tell you. It was a convent in Ireland, and there was a 98-year-old Mother Superior, and she lay preparing to make her transition. And the nuns gathered around her bed, trying to make her last journey here on earth comfortable. They tried giving her some warm milk to drink, but she refused it. One of the nuns took the glass back to the kitchen. Then, remembering a bottle of Irish whiskey that had been received as a gift the previous Christmas, she opened it and she poured a generous amount into the warm milk. Back at Mother Superior's bed, they held the glass to her lips. The frail nun drank a little, then a little more, and before they knew it, she'd finished the whole glass all the way to the bottom, to the last drop. As her eyes brightened, the nuns thought this would be a good opportunity to have one last talk with their spiritual leader. "Mother," the nuns asked earnestly, "please give us some of your wisdom before you leave us." As the Mother Superior raised herself up in bed on one elbow, they all leaned in to hear the final wisdom she would leave them with. They were all on pins and needles waiting when she looked at them deeply in their eyes and said, "Don't ever sell that cow." All right, so there's better wisdom here for you today, and I promise we will get to it, okay? So first, to define the word consciousness. Yes, that joke was for you, Rob. First, to define the word consciousness. I believe our consciousness is a combination of 7 things: thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values, attitudes, words, and actions. It's the totality of who we are, but it starts with our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs. And why is this important? Why is this deep wisdom? Because this is what we create from. This is our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs. That's what we create from. We are creative beings imbued with the divine quality of creativity and surrounded by and filled with God's perfect law that takes the direct impress of our consciousness, combination of our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, values, words, and actions. And then it acts upon it to modify slightly a passage from What We Believe by Ernest Holmes. Okay, so then on to race consciousness. I talked a little bit about this last week as a term often used in science of mind teachings, and one that can be misunderstood. And as I said last week, it has nothing to do with an individual's race, but rather it refers to the accumulated collective thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values, attitudes, words, and actions of the human race to which we were all subject to, right? Unless and until, well, I'll get to that in just a second. I'm jumping ahead. We will get there. Ernest Holmes spoke quite a bit about race consciousness, and here are a few things he had to say. In The Science of Mind, he said, "Race suggestion is a very real thing, and each of us carries around with us and has written into our mentality many impressions which we never consciously thought of or experienced. There is a tendency on the part of all of us to reproduce the accumulated subjective experiences of the human race." It's pretty interesting, isn't it? He also wrote, "The collective unconscious contains a record of all human events that have ever transpired. We are all more or less subject to this collective thought, since it acts as a powerful race suggestion. The sum total of all erroneous human belief binds until Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute too. So you get the picture, more or less, right? Then let's just look for a few moments at some common race conscious beliefs. And you may or may not personally hold these, but tell me if you think they are in the collective thought that is out there, the collective consciousness. To test the first one, I have a question. How do you feel when someone says to you that they have a cold? How do you feel? What is your reaction and what are your feelings about that? I know what mine are. Now, how do you feel when someone tells you that they have cancer? What is the race-conscious belief about cancer? It's really interesting because with the first one, for me, we're all in cubicles. I have another job other than this. We're all in cubicles, and you can hear someone coughing clear across the room. And the first thought that runs into my mind is, oh my, and I have to consciously say, no, that does not affect me. There is no effect on me. I am whole, perfect, and complete, and nothing, but that conscious, and we see it on TV. It's flu season. So, it's flu season. How many people just, fall in line and get the flu because somebody on TV told them it was flu season? It's pretty darned amazing. And then I had a friend who, at age 52, was diagnosed with a form of cancer that was very unusual. And we ran into her husband at the supermarket like 3 weeks after she'd been diagnosed. And his first words to us, well, it's terminal. And I thought, man, don't ever tell me something is terminal. Don't ever say, like Louise Hayes always says, incurable means curable from within. So, we're being taught to stand away from what the collective common consciousness that is out there. And it's just so incredibly important, and I'll get more into that. So, what is the race conscious belief about cancer? Well, I think we break it down, but in general, we believe, the race consciousness believes that it kills or it can kill. What do you believe that happens to our bodies as we age? What happens to our bodies as we age? What's your belief? What is your belief? Do you think that you stay vital and spry and energetic, or do you think that maybe we start going down that slippery slope and deteriorating as we age? It's all downhill from here, You've heard that, right? We make jokes like, you're getting older, and you're getting older when everything that works hurts and what doesn't hurt doesn't work. Or you feel like the morning after, yet you didn't have the night before. Or your little black book only contains names ending in MD. Or you look forward to a dull evening. Okay, now I think I'm pretty young, but sometimes I look forward to a dull evening. Your knees buckle and your belt won't. Okay? Your back goes out more than you do. You sink your teeth into a steak and they stay there. Well, here's an interesting thing how race consciousness has changed. Both my grandparents had false teeth. Both sets had false teeth. I don't see that anymore. Do you? Wow, that's pretty impressive. You don't have to lose your teeth as you get older. That's a good thing. Okay, and the drum roll, please. You know all the answers, but nobody asks the questions. Gosh. What race-conscious beliefs about aging do these jokes show? It's just amazing. It's amazing that we do get into this stream, like we're just jumping in the river and going along and believing all this stuff. So just pay attention to that. When people are saying things, just pay attention to what it is that we think, or it's like, is that what Polly would say? I don't subscribe to that. That might be what everybody else is joining in on, but I don't. Which takes us to another race-conscious belief about aging. The elderly have nothing to contribute to life, and we should just put them away somewhere. Oh, that's sad. Years and years ago, someone gave me a CD. Well, actually, this is how long ago it was. It was a cassette tape. That's how long ago. Of a lecture that Greg Braden gave. And in it, he told the story of a village in Asia where 100-year-olds rode around on bicycles, vibrant, healthy, and alive. On the day that they decided to die, did you hear that? The day they decided to die, they would have a big party. And then they'd leave the party at some particular point and go off to sleep and make their transition. It's pretty amazing. That is definitely not the race consciousness about aging that we have in the United States, is it? What are some other race conscious beliefs? Anybody have anything that you can...
You know what came to my mind this morning was when everybody believed the world was flat. I mean,
Yeah.
you go back thousands of years, I mean,
Yeah.
throughout time, we have these beliefs which everybody believes, I think are, we're growing so...
Well, look what's happening with the vaccinations. You know, wow, that's an interesting, just watching it go back and
Yes,
forth,
yeah.
you know.
Now there's going to be a Dick Tracy watch by Apple. Out.
Oh, it's just fascinating. Anybody else have any?
Well, remember the millennium, 2000,
Oh.
everybody's computers were going to crash.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, the whole world was set up for that, wasn't it? And I was just laughing. I was going, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. It's just interesting
And
how
luckily, I was right.
we join on the, well, you know, think about when rock music became popular. Oh my gosh, that was going to be the end of the world. Everyone was going to, you know, go crazy, and it was all over.
How
Yeah.
about the Mayan calendar?
The Mayan calendar, yeah. So it's just very interesting to see what the collective consciousness, and you can tell what the collective consciousness is. You know, what about the most recent recession? You know, that it's an interesting thing. Oh, it's all going this way, is it? Is it
Some
really?
people got very wealthy.
Some people got very wealthy in the Depression too. A lot of people got extremely wealthy during the Depression. It just, you know, it pays to pay attention. So you get the idea. And here's the important thing. We are subject to these beliefs even if we never actually think them or have them rolling around in our own personal consciousness. Unless and until, oh wait, we're not right there yet. Let me share the entire quote from the textbook that I started earlier, and we will finally fill in that blank, unless and until. So here it is. The collective unconscious contains a record of all human events that have ever transpired. We are all more or less subject to this collective thought since it acts as a powerful race suggestion. The sum total of all erroneous human belief binds until the individual mentally lifts himself above the law of averages into, and this is the law of averages is Thomas Troward, who Ernest Holmes studied with, and it was his term for race consciousness. So he says, the total of all erroneous human belief binds until the individual mentally lifts himself above the law of averages into the higher law of spiritual individualism. So the sum total of all erroneous human belief binds until we lift ourselves above race consciousness into the higher law of spiritual individualism. Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes was right. There is, of course, a much deeper seat of knowledge than race consciousness, which is the spirit. Direct contact with the spirit is illumination. And this is where grace consciousness comes in. This is what we explored last Sunday during our beautiful Easter service. All we need to do, makes it sound easy, right? All we need to do is shift from race to grace consciousness. All that we need to do that is to bring God into the picture. All we need to do to shift from race to grace consciousness is to bring God into the picture. By adding a G to the word race, we get grace. Holmes tells us, in The Science of Mind, the one whose thought is the most godlike, that is, the truest, the highest, the most noble, the most complete, the most peaceful, will be the best healer. When thought reaches a higher degree of perfection as the race consciousness unfolds and evolves, it will bring out a still greater development of life than we know now. And he's writing this in 1926. So you've got to know that he had a vision. And I think we have evolved quite a bit since then, but there's still a ways to go. When we add God to our consciousness, shifting gears, so to speak, we move out of, we transcend race consciousness and we move into grace consciousness. And then we're no longer affected by it. And not only are we no longer affected by it, our elevated consciousness elevates and evolves the race consciousness. What a fabulous byproduct of that whole thing. Because we are such powerful, powerful beings that, we were allowing ourselves to be affected by it, but we forgot that we can affect the race consciousness on the other way. So the more of us who are aware of our evolution, the more of us connect with Spirit and God and go from race to grace, can affect the entire world. And I think that's a pretty cool thought right there. So let me give you an example of evolved race consciousness. In The Science of Minds, Holmes writes, and listen for the race consciousness of the times when he was writing this in the 1920s. An instance of race consciousness is the belief that one more than 40 years of age is easily fatigued, cannot engage in strenuous exercise of any kind, and must work fewer hours each day. The race suggestion has hypnotized the entire world. Only a few people past 40 dare to undertake new endeavors and engage in activities with the same enthusiasm that they did at 25. Wow, he was stating what it was like. We have evolved. We've come a long way, haven't we? Yeah. Race consciousness can evolve, and we can help it by bringing grace consciousness to the table. So it is a fact that everything you have ever thought, said, done, seen, heard, or experienced has left an imprint on you. And so has your family life, your ancestral background, and the sum total of the whole world of what they have thought or believed has left an imprint on you. But there's more to it. There's more to you than this. Just as you are being acted upon by your own memories, the mind of history, and your environment, you are also being acted upon by the mind of God, which is, where's God?
Right
Within.
here.
Within and around. There's no beginning, no end. And while today you may be experiencing the effects of race consciousness and your own beliefs, today, this moment now, this very moment, because this is the only moment of power now, you can begin to change them. Because you are a creator and not a creature. You are a creator and not a creature. And so how do we do this? Simply by choosing a God thought each and every time. It's an easy thing, we said it was a simple truth, but not always easy, right? Not always easy. Engage in the practices that we teach here. And what is it we teach? We teach visioning. We teach affirmative prayer. We teach affirmations, visualization. See the best outcome and let go of the how. Choose to know that you live in a friendly universe that is not out to get you, but rather is out to give to you. I like that. This is how we develop our grace consciousness, and we will continue this exploration for the rest of this month. But for now, I want to conclude with a real-life example of shifting gears from race consciousness to grace consciousness, as it relates to something very real and tangible in life. It's a true testimonial, and it goes like this. This is a letter from someone who said, "Boy, did God show up. You have taught me to have a vision, set your intention, make a commitment, and do what is yours to do, and let God figure out the how." So I've been doing all these things around finances in my retirement, abundance, and prosperity. I paid off bills and changed the way I pay bills, not waiting to the last minute, so that I could really focus on putting more money into my retirement and tithing, with the intention of potentially paying off my house before I retire, even though I've been upside down in it for 7 years. Okay, was those big few years back, we had a lot of people upside down in their homes, right, with the recession and that kind of thing. So race consciousness, what does race consciousness say? These are my comments, that if you're upside down in a mortgage, you're sunk, right? You're better off just maybe walking away. I don't know. These were things that were going on not too long ago. And for 7 years, wow, that's a long time. Probably not going to get out of that one. That's what race consciousness would tell us. But he goes on to say, I got a call from my loan agent telling me that the guidelines for the HARP program, anybody hear about the HARP program? Yeah.
Sure.
For the homeowners underwater, and he thought that maybe I would qualify. So I applied, and I was approved for a $38,000 principal loan reduction on my home. Now remember, he started all of this before he even knew that the HARP program existed. And this program appeared, and someone told him about it. So he's attracting a lot of good things here. This new loan should close this week. What this means is that the vision I had to pay my house off in 15 years has happened. I did my part, and God absolutely showed up and did the how. We didn't have to know the how. I am still in amazement because I would never have thought something this big would happen, but see that that's because of the limits I would put on God. And it just goes to show that when you open up, He blows your socks right off. You have really taught me to let God be God. I could go on and on, but you get what I'm saying. I am blessed beyond measure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You rock. And actually, I would say it is all of you that rocks. And we can all rock when we move from race consciousness into grace consciousness. And we do that by simply bringing God into the picture. It's as simple as that. And so it is.